welcome back to the Sounds of Stadia Podcast, episode number 115. You join myself, Chris, alongside the man of many pixels, Mr. Ritchie.
Hello, everyone.
And a very special guest, all the way from the country of maple trees, Mr. Jon Scarr from Four Scars Gaming. How the hell are you doing, John?
Oh, I'm doing good today. How are you guys doing?
We are recovering, but we're okay.
Yeah.
We're good. We're good in advance. We're looking forward to the Game Awards this week.
Definitely.
We'll be covering that.
Yeah.
But we're just excited to have you on as a guest, John, because it's been a long time coming. You've been on our radar, and we've said ever since Tom's gone on paternity leave, we've tried to cycle through people. But you'll know just as much as everyone else, there's so many amazing people out there in the Stadia community. It's just working your way through them, finding times and stuff. So, no, we massively appreciate you stepping in for what hopefully will be an amazing show. We've got plenty of news to talk about for all of our viewers and listeners out there. But before we get into all that juicy content, as always, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell so you are kept in the loop with all of the Helix Cloud content we bring you right here, like our first looks, like our podcast, like our SideQuest show, like our Discord chat, which you can find all of that information in the link down below. Because, as I said, very, very juicy show this week. Not only do we have John, but we've got loads of amazing Stadia stories, new games announced, new games coming next year, Game Awards content, studios being bought out, extra pro game conversation, BioShock news, maybe coming to the platform. I've added it in the doc anyway because I'm a big BioShock fan, so we will talk about it, and much, much more. But without further delay, John, we've got you here. We're thrilled to have you here. If the people out there somehow play Stadia and don't know who you are, would you like to tell the people a little bit about yourself?
Well, sure. I've been gaming. I'm myself here. I'm in my mid-40s now, so I've been gaming for over 30 years, probably about 35 years I've been gaming, if not longer. And I've gamed across a whole wide variety of platforms, different games, played the whole gambit. And fast forward a couple of years here, and I'm the gaming editor for the Best Buy Canada blog here in Canada, and also a Stadia content creator. Ever since I first heard about Stadia, GDC 2019, just fell in love with it. And ever since then, been a part of this amazing community, and just so grateful to have so many different friends and an amazing platform, and glad to be on your show.
Well, we're absolutely thrilled to have you. And if you haven't checked out John's channel already, I think you put out more first looks and content across everything than anybody else we know. So massive round of applause for that one, and credit where credit's due.
Do it.
Yeah, I don't really. I'm sure the job helps some degree.
Yeah, it does, but myself, sometimes it's just like I look back and I'm like, wow, how did I do all this? But it's just the love of gaming, and it's like such a passion for it, as you both have as well. It's like it's not really a job, it's enjoyment. So you don't see it as work, and it's really fun. I love it.
Yeah, it really is. You cannot deny sitting there and recording a first look or a live stream with like some amazing people who are in the chat. There's nothing bad about it at all. It's totally just euphoria and having fun. And again, video games are meant to be enjoyed, so it's terrific stuff. And if you've not checked out John's channel, do head over. You've got a new weekly show as well that you've started as well. You're up to episode 5 in the bag now. I dropped in this week for episode 5, listened a little bit. Obviously, time zones pending sometimes doesn't mean we can be there in person, but I always try and catch little snippets on demand as it was. You do that with a couple of different creators every week.
Yeah, so it's myself and Ninja Guy X. We came up with the whole idea. So it's our show here at Stadium Connect North. We do it every Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. And then we'll have special co-hosts, sometimes guest co-hosts. The last couple of weeks we've had Aswi. He's been on as well. Another fellow Canadian that's just lives here in Toronto as well. And we just talk about the Stadia news, the community, always positive, and highlight, just different things in the community, do interviews and talk, and, much like you do here as well.
Yeah, it's really easy, and it's surprising how once you get talking about something that you are passionate about, it just goes and flows. It's so good, and it's like I think you addressed it right at the beginning. where you said that the people in this community that you talk to and you interact with, like we interact through like social media, Discord, Twitter, all the time, and I honestly don't think they get enough credit as they deserve. Like the Stadia community, the second anniversary, we had a great time. Everybody just celebrating across the whole weekend, and met some amazing people virtually. And I think it cannot be denied that just having a similar interest, playing games, having fun is it does do wonders for bringing people together as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm also well aware our other host has not said anything yet. He's sat there listening attentively. So, Richie, as we go into the show, you are here. Richie, yes, in the middle.
I am here.
You are here. He is here. For audio listeners out there, he is here. So, yes, thank you, John. Richie, we'll kickstart the show off proper then with yourself. Yeah. We played Wreckfest this Thursday with our wonderful community out there on Stadia, of course. One of your pro games for December, if you've not claimed it already. Give the people your first impressions of Wreckfest, because we know what you're like with racing games.
Yeah, I'm not a racing game fan. I have enjoyed the other racing games that we've played. This one is very much more up my alley, and this one I had a really good time with it. I mean, it was to the point, Chris, where we decided we'll do one more race and wrap up. Then there was like 2 races later, we're still going. It was just great fun.
Yeah, it was one of those bad for your sleeping pattern. Yeah. Great for having a laugh into the late hours of the night. Yeah. I think it was we were about to wrap up, and then we went into the lobby, and then all you saw was everybody voting for the next race, and before you knew it, there was 10 votes in. You can't stop at mid-vote.
Let's go one more. This is the last one, though, guys. This is the last one.
Yeah, Wreckfest is a delight, surprise. I think we knew it was going to be fun. But I didn't actually realise the game had combine harvesters, lawnmowers. I thought it was just cars again. John, have you had a chance to check it out?
I did one race on the couch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. I love the game too. Like just like you guys were talking about. It's like one more game, and then you're like 10 games into it. And you're like, what time is it now? Yeah, it's fantastic. I like that it's more than just, the cars. You got, the couch, the harvester, all that. There's those different items and vehicles, and it's that satisfaction of like when you smash into, the other vehicle, a car, your friend or whatever, and it's just like, it's so much fun, and I'm glad that it's a pro title. More people can play it, and so far, like, the community is great.
Yeah, there's enough in it to distinguish it from other racing games. Like, we've had fun in Dirt 5 and other titles, but a team deathmatch. I'd never comprehended a racing game having a team deathmatch within it, and it created an interesting dynamic where you wanted to crash into the competitors because you wanted to be higher up in the position ranking, but at the same time they're on your team, so you don't want to run them off the road too soon. And it does play with your emotions a little bit. There was a few times.
On the team races, let's get enough points so we definitely won it, and then we'll start trying to kill each other.
Yes.
Yeah,
it was loads of fun, and we'll certainly be jumping in and having some more races soon. Because again, I'm not one for racing games, but when you add 10, 15, 20 people in the community, it's not about the racing, it's about hanging out together and crashing and smashing each other's cars up in utter destruction and chaos, and this game certainly lends itself to that, so keep your eyes peeled for that one in the future. And next up, we will be talking about Chorus, of course, just landed on the platform. We'll be giving some first impressions and looking at some of the early reviews for it. However, we'll save that for the news because that's what we are about here on the show. We've got a great episode of SideQuest lined up. I know our members out there, our YouTube members, shout out to you all. Do get SideQuest nearly up to a week early, and it's great that we've got John on the show this week because this week's SideQuest episode, Richie, is about...
We're talking about the Game Awards and our predictions for what we would like to see.
Predictions, impressions, we're going to be breaking down the categories, and what better person to have us join us than someone who literally reviews all platforms as your day job. Again, head over to John's blog if you want kind of a breakdown of the top PlayStation, top Xbox, top Nintendo, cloud, all that kind of stuff. Some interesting reads over there as well. And I guess, gentlemen, we should just get into the thick of it. So, John, I'll hand it over to you as our honoured guest to introduce
the super sexy special Stadia Stories segment, aka the news.
The news. I think, John, you said that far too sexily for a Monday morning. There's people out there on the commute to work being like, I can't go to work now. You just
I need a cold shower.
I need a cold shower.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there will be people who appreciate that. Thank you. That's brilliant. We love it when our guests give it a slightly different spin on things. You've got to love it. So yes, aka the news, ladies and gentlemen. And as I mentioned, we've got an absolute stellar pack show, loads of game conversation announcements, and we'll be breaking it all down. But let's start off with the talk of the town right now. It dropped over the weekend, chorus across multiple platforms and up there in the cloud. I've played it. There's a first look up on our channel right now. Played about the first hour and 15 minutes. There's a little part I had to cut out of my first look, which I'm sure we'll talk about. John, you might got stuck on the same situation. I saw Meg did as well. We'll talk about all that. But yes, Chorus has dropped. It's receiving some good reviews. Richie, I believe you've got the Metacritics, actually, the scores lined up.
Yeah, it seems to be surprisingly mixed. PS5 got a 71 and Xbox Series X got a 79. That's further apart than I would you usually expect to see, with PC at 74. So you're probably about a 7.5 out of 10 rating, I reckon. That's probably where most people fall in.
Indeed, yeah.
I'm surprised at the difference between the PS5 and Xbox Series X.
Yeah, Metacritic's always just a good gauge, I always feel, but it's better to make your own assumptions and read your own reviews. And of course, check out mine, John's, Meg's first look at the game to get your true impressions. That's what it's all about. But for those who don't know, yes, Chorus has arrived from Fish Labs, part of the Deep Silver, THQ Nordic, Embracer, massive conglomerate gaming group that we talk about. The best summary I saw was from IGN in their review by Dan Stapleton over there, and it was, and I quote, "What if Darth Vader defected after the destruction of Alderaan?" And that kind of, for me, that little quote there sums up exactly what the beginning of this game is about. You play as Nara in space. You're part of this kind of cult. You're essentially like the hammer, the right hand woman of this cult organization taking over the galaxy, and you essentially destroy a planet at the beginning of the game. And in my first look, I actually quote, I think, Tarkin or Vader or someone from that scene, because that's exactly the same vibes that I got. And then you essentially are absolutely devastated about what you've done. The kind of reality hits home, and you defect and you run off and you hide in the outer rims of the galaxy, and then eventually your history catches up with you, and then space combat ensues, and more importantly, you get essentially Knight Rider equivalent of a spacecraft, it's a sentient spacecraft who you team up with to then take on the fight against your old boss. And I've enjoyed thoroughly what I've played about it so far, but you can check that out in the video. John, you've already played it. I'd love to get your quick kind of first impressions of how you've taken a Chorus, what your first thoughts were.
Well, what I did actually before I streamed, I did play it about 15 to 20 minutes just so I could get an idea. And I think I know what the part that you're talking about, because before I streamed, I got to this part and I was like, wait a second, I was stuck for a while, and then I finally figured it out. So in the stream, I knew what to do.
Right.
But I love the story so far. I've myself have played a couple hours, just like you have, and immediately what I felt was there was a game that came out, and I mentioned it in my stream here in the 90s on PC, that was called Descent. And it feels just like Descent, where you've got that fully 3D movement in space there, and it's so accurate. Like, I love the way how you can just like move your ship around and just, in all over in that 3D world, which of course back in the 90s, the early 90s, it wasn't the norm. So I can remember playing in Descent there and thinking, wow, like I'm lost. Like, I don't know where to go, what to do. I was moving around in that 3D space, where now it's more the norm. So we're more accustomed to that. But I love like the voice acting, the story, the mechanics. You can upgrade your ship, and the open world. It's just great. I'm really, really enjoying it so far, and it's a pleasant surprise. We've been waiting for it for what I think it was announced about a year ago, and so now it's here, and it's great. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm gonna be digging into it more later today.
Yeah, exactly the same. I played another hour or so last night, so I got to the point where you unlock the drift ability. So you kind of, even though drifting in space, I don't know how the physics quite work,
But
it's a cool gameplay element.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Like I like just how you could go around and move and it's awesome. I really do love it.
It's very fluent. It's different. I think that's what I've played so many games over the last 2 years, and for me, like. I'm a massive fan of the old Rogue Squadron games and stuff, and I love the space elements in the Star Wars Battlefront games.
Yes.
But you never have a whole campaign, a whole story dedicated around this type of like. You never get out the ship and walk around. It is all contained within your own spacecraft. But that's what makes the game stand out so differently than the rest.
Is it on? Because I haven't checked out either of your shows yet. Is it on rails, or is it?
No, it's hard to say. I think when you're in a ship, because obviously the game physics of it, the environment is essentially moving around your ship, and your ship just sways left to right, does a barrel roll, whatever. But it doesn't feel like you're on rails in the slightest. You have full 3D autonomy.
Is it like Star Fox 64, where you are basically on rails and you're just moving forward throughout the level, and you can just move? Yeah.
No, but you do. You do have like you can feel elements of Star Fox in it, but no, like you can fully explore the environment, and I think that's the part. Like when you're 10 to 15 minutes in, there's this one part where you need to find these items, and you're thinking like, well, where do I go? And like you can go throughout the environment here, and you end up going like tucking around back behind something but yeah, I mean you could feel like all those games like the Star Wars, Star Fox and things like that, you can feel those elements in there, but you can fully explore your environments and things.
So it's more like you're in this biome where the level takes place, and you can fully explore that to your heart's content.
Completely. It's it obviously takes inspiration from Star Fox and those that came before. But yeah, I think for me, the moment that I realised it was much more open than I actually anticipated was you leave your main hangar after doing the first upgrades to your ship, like your lasers, your Gatling gun and such, and you basically have you press A and it scans the environment to reveal things, and it showcases like there's a side mission 23 kilometers over there's the main mission here, and you bring up your map, and like you said, Richie, you've got like an entire biome of almost like a little almost like a star system to explore. And as the game progresses, I've heard from some reviews, there's very different terrains and environments to explore. It's similar to most games. You have like a sandy area, a snowy area. It seems like it's going to do that as the game progresses. But new weapons unlocks, interesting story. And again, I think it really sums it up in that IGN review of what if Darth Vader defected after the destruction of Alderaan. And I would be like, I'd play that game. I would play that game and follow that story. So, great. Coming at almost like a sweet price point as well, $34.99 UK. I know Canadian, it's obviously very different over your neck of the woods. But I think for what the game is, I think it's not pushing itself too much. It's not asking for too much, but it's definitely by no stretch an indie game from the art style. There's a lot of money gone and polish gone into the environments. I was in absolute awe of like the first biome you're in. I don't want to say biome. Damn you, Returnal, for us using the word biome. But the area that you are in, the rings of the planet. There's a good few times I panned the camera up and just looked in awe at like how beautiful the kind of asteroid belt around this planet you start off in was.
A game like that does need to be pretty.
Yeah,
just
certainly.
Needs to be just, especially in space, if you're looking at like a planet there, it just needs to look awesome.
And it like we've mentioned here, it looks and it runs great. You have the two different modes. You've got the high frame rate, which it runs at 60 frames a second, and then you've got like the performance mode where it bumps up the resolution a bit, but runs at 30 frames a second. Both look great. I personally played at the high frame rate because the difference in graphics isn't that much, at least to me here. So I prefer to play it at the high frame rate mode, and either way it looks great and runs good.
I'm always a high frame rate guy, but there again, I don't have a 4K TV, so usually performance mode is kind of wasted on me. Graphic mode's usually wasted on me anyway. It's like, I'm not like the textures might be a little bit better. My TV isn't HDR, so I'm not getting any benefit there. Like, most of the things I'd get for benefit are just not. I'm just not, because I don't have a suitable screen, but I do get the better frame rate. So
and this game as well. I know Stadia players out there play across a multitude of screens and devices. This for me is definitely one for the biggest screen. So get some time in the living room. Don't be playing it on your phone or the Razer Kishi. It'll look gorgeous, but you want to enjoy those landscapes and environments to their fullest, which I think, a big, nice television screen would bode well. Chorus, evidently, two great first impressions there, available now to buy on Google Stadia. Shout out as well, we must say, to Amazon Luna as well. We don't have it here in the UK yet. It's not in Canada yet either, right? It's still United States only. But it dropped on Luna Plus, which I think was like $5.99 or something. So, like, shout out where credit's due. Like six, like what that must be, Richie, in pounds, like £3-4.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Great British pound. So you can't go wrong for that full game for that much on a subscription. So shout out where it's due, and it's great to see just games coming to more platforms in general. But speaking of coming to the platforms, a nice little additional thread for Chorus is it checkmarked Stadia passing the 100 game mark in the year of 2021, which we were promised at the beginning of the year, that they would, or the back end of last year, I should say, that they were looking to bring over 100 new titles to Stadia in the year of 2021, and they've done it. They've met the deadline with 25 plus days to spare. So round of applause to the Stadia team, the porting team, and all the developers and publishers out there for getting that hard work done. I'm sure we're about to see a couple more trickle through, no doubt, before the year is out. I'm excited to see what they are. But it's good. It's good to see they've made true on the promise. And again, I would hate to be sat here thinking we're on 76 of 100 and it's the end of December. So great one there. And I can't believe we've got over 200 games on the platform already. Like it can't be denied that they've done a good bit of graft behind the scenes to get that many titles, big and small, in under 2 years. Because if you are new to the platform, I think it's 44 games to claim on Pro as of right now, which is insane. That's practically like a Game Pass unto itself. And then also you can buy extra games that aren't included. So it's I'm a big fan of the style. I think that's why I like Stadia, that I can have the subscription model, but I'm not beholden to it if I want to buy other titles as a classic gamer.
I mean, I haven't had hands-on with Luna, but that's always been my biggest criticism. Like, I kind of like the subscription model in addition to just being able to pick and choose what I want.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I agree.
It's why Ubisoft Plus, I think, is a great addition to Stadia, because you have that option for Ubisoft Plus, or you can just buy a Ubisoft game.
Indeed. Yeah. But that's not the only game story we've got this week. So moving Chorus off to a side, we got a nice community blog this week from the Stadia team, breaking down 2 more games coming to the platform. One very soon, one in the future. We don't know quite when. But to start things off, Dynasty Warriors. How do you two say it, Richie?
I'd say Dynasty probably. I don't know.
Dynasty. I always say
yeah.
So we'll get into it. So yeah, Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires is coming to the platform in 2022. It's coming to console releases in February. However, it's not been dated for Stadia, so it'll come at a later time. We would take away from that. The reason I say Dynasty is because I've got a very rich history with this franchise. It's one that's not probably in my wheelhouse traditionally, and I started off with Dynasty Warriors 2 back on the PlayStation 2. And I know it's loosely based on Chinese history and stuff, mythology and all that kind of stuff. I know everything I know about their history and culture through these video games, and I love the hell out of them. Just like massive armies, kicking shit out of people en masse. So many. It's a superhero game. Yeah, it's a superhero game before superheroes were really a thing in games. And I'm 100% there for it. The crazy fights, the Musou mode where you just go like insane and just destroy everyone, wipe them out. Oh, this is fond family memories. Me and my brother used to play this. It was always multiplayer as well. So you could split screen and go in, which I think, Richie, you've got a brother as well, it always adds just an extra element of love for a game when you can play it with a family member rather than them have to just watch and wait their turn. And
it's good for the parents to stop you arguing.
Yeah, 100%. And like the Yellow Turban Rebellion and the when they introduced African elephants in like Dynasty Warriors 4 or 5, and you got a whole new campaign. And it was amazing. And I've not played one for a while because naturally this is the 9th iteration. The game doesn't change that much, folks. If I'm honest, it's the same story retold with slightly different twinges and different characters. And Empire is the one that's coming to Stadia. This is a spin-off, so it's not the main core franchise. It's a more tactical take on the game. you also have did they do Gundam Warriors as well? Is that
they've got Hyrule Warriors?
Hyrule Warriors, yeah. Koei Tecmo just basically take this core element and they just do anything they want. I think they did Samurai Warriors. I think that's up to like 3 or 4. They did the Kessen games, which as a child confused me because it was the characters from Dynasty Warriors, but it's called Kessen. So is it the same game? Is it not? And it was like a tactical top-down army simulation game. And but either way, a lot of love for these games. John, as our guest, I'll throw it over to you. What's your history with Dynasty Warriors, and how do you sit with number 9 Empires coming to the platform?
Well, pretty much, you covered it there. Like the Koei Tecmo, it's great to see. Like this is I'm pretty sure it's their second game on Stadia. They released one was at launch, and I think it's great. It's just to see more games coming to the platform, different types of games. And I think like you mentioned, it's coming to other platforms in February of 2022 and Stadia a little bit later. So I think this is a good sign that it shows that Google has just recently inked the deal with Koei Tecmo here for more games. So I'm hoping that this is a sign maybe there's even more on the way. But yeah, the Dynasty Warrior games and Koei's ever since like Koei games, let's see how, as kids, we pronounced it as, let me see if I know, Nambunga's Ambition, but it's Nabunaga's Ambition. So, just a rich history with the Koei games and the Japanese culture and history, and the Dynasty Warrior games here are great. And, like you mentioned, it's awesome, fun to play, with, someone right beside you there. And as growing up and as kids, playing with each other and like, elbowing them and things like that. So, so it's great. Like, it's like you mentioned here, like this is a little bit more tactical, but overall, like I like to see these games from Koei coming, and more games the better. We really can't complain.
Yeah, it's a franchise that I've just noticed, actually. Bear with me. There's 3 right to my side.
Oh, yeah.
Classic one. Lubu rocking the front cover there. And a lot of the names, I know I'll butcher them because I must have been, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, and not too familiar with Oh, yeah.
I imagine the English voice acting back in the PS2 generation wasn't great either. So a lot of the pronunciations are probably butchered by the English voice actors.
the as far as I'm aware, the leader of the blue team, I think his name's spelled Cao, and my brother and me just call him Cow Cow. And I know it's probably like Shao Shao or something like that. And I just was like, right. In English, phonetically, as a 12-year-old, that means nothing to me. So yeah, probably butchered them. Jia Hao-Dun is a guy who's got an eye patch and a badass sword, and he was a pirate, and I'm like, I'm down for this guy. And they all have such unique specials. It's such a fun game, and it doesn't mean anything. It teaches a little bit about Chinese culture, I guess. If you look for search for Guan Yu statue in China, there is it's essentially a god in their mythology, and there's a statue that is insanely large. It's by a river front of this guy, and it's like, why don't we have anything like that in my country? Like just a massive statue of an ancient warrior that like is bigger than skyscrapers. Oh, it's so good. I could talk about it forever, but that's not what we're here for on the show. Richie, you said you remember me playing them as a child.
I do.
Have you ever dabbled yourself?
Probably only around yours. I've never owned one of the games, but I've definitely played, but never to any sort of real extent. I was tempted by Hyrule Warriors in the past because I'm a Zelda fan, but I end up not going for it.
Yeah, so we should say as well, like Empires, as I said, is a kind of spin-off franchise of the main core one. So this isn't it does have the traditional just fighting elements and kick the crap out of like thousands of enemies and such and use your abilities. But there is a more tactical phase of the game where you plot out where you're going to position your troops and your defenses and such. So it's a slightly different take on what you might be familiar with if you're used to the franchise. But it's great to see it's coming. I'm thrilled. I'll definitely be picking this one up because it's been so long. Yep. I think I had Dynasty Warriors 7 or 8 on the PlayStation 4 because they go in quite big cycles, as we said, because they cycle through Samurai Warriors, Empires, Hyrule Warriors. The studio takes a good 7, 5, 6 years to get around to each entry, so
which is good.
Yeah, it's not rushed and everything, and each iteration kind of has a big
Right.
jump up in graphics fidelity and everything. But like you said, John, I'm just happy that there's a different type of game coming to the platform.
Yeah.
I actually do have a PlayStation release date for you, Chris. It's 15th of February.
Mm-hmm. Now, will I wait? Will I wait? That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll probably expect around Stadia around about the same time. So, I mean, we're getting the announcement at about the same time as it came out, the announcement for PlayStation. So
that is true.
crossed.
That is true. So we shall see. I'm sure we're going to hear something at the turn of the year. But that wasn't all that we got this week. I know I could gush and talk about it for ages and ages, but we will move on. We will move on. Last week, of course, the fortnight ago, we had the Jackbox Party Pack 8 drop on the platform. Mm-hmm. Good news for those who are asking where some of the other titles are from, like Fibbage. Well, great news. Jackbox Party Pack 7 is in fact coming to the platform. So we're going back a little bit further to the 7th iteration, which comes with Quiplash 3, The Devils and the Details, Champed Up, Talking Points, and Blather Round. So this one doesn't include Fibbage just yet, which I think is a lot of people's favourite, but Quiplash, I think, is one of my favourite games within these party packs. Yeah. And we actually played it round our friend's house whilst under the intoxication of wine and cheese. Not that you get drunk off cheese. Lots and lots of wine. And again, it was the ideal scenario for these type of games. We were at a party. Yeah. We didn't actually know a couple of the people there for a change. We were meeting new people for the first time, what feels like in a long time, Richie. And halfway through the party, we started playing the Jackbox games. And again, they're so good at just creating laughter, joy, silly moments, humour. And it's great to see that we're getting another one. So I'm guessing... in fact, I probably can assuredly say that this game was in the works at the same time as 8. I'd love to know the conversation that happened with, do we put 7 out first or 8? Like, the time window was so short.
I think it's you get the new, in this sort of situation, you get the newest one out there first and you just work your way back.
Yeah.
I think it's like what Ubisoft are doing with every game they own.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, one day we will have Assassin's Creed 1 in the cloud. One day. And does this set a precedence then? In another fortnight, we'll be sat here saying Jackbox Party Pack 6 is out, and then 5 in the new year. And I'm for it.
Yeah.
And I guess
it would also be great. Sorry, to see if maybe one of the Jackbox games come to Stadia Pro as well. That would be a great addition.
It certainly would be. I guess with the games, there's not really much to them in terms of a port, because you're not rendering like AAA quality graphics, and it's essentially just a show, like a video game showcase. So fun for it. I'm guessing this one. I'm trying to think if it'll come out at a cheaper price or not, because it's an older iteration. But for me, the Party Pack 8 was a little bit too expensive to buy at launch for what the game is. I think it was at $29.99, Richie, over here, like £30 essentially. Like, and you could get Chorus for £4.99 more, and it's, as a video gamer, I'm seeing much more value in Chorus for the extra £5. So but each to their own.
For that price though, is you kind of, between a group of friends, only really need to buy the game once, and then everyone can use it.
That's
so
true.
There is that. I don't know. It felt a bit steep for me, but hopefully
it's more fun. What's your history with the Jackbox games, John? Played them with a family, friends?
Yeah, the Jackbox games all the way back on, starting with PC, and it's a great party game. I mean, you just described the ideal scenario and how it can bring everybody together, even like people that you don't even know, and like you're in a social setting, and it's one person owns a game and everyone else, they can join in by just grabbing their device, heading over to the jackbox.tv website, putting the code in, and it's loads and loads of fun, laughs, and I like how the game's 2 to 10 players, but then even like if you're streaming it, which it makes a great community stream as well. The people that don't actually get in on the game, they could be audience members, and then they get to vote on things and influence the game. It's loads and loads of fun. I agree. Like here, it was $39.99, a little higher price, but I think like I'm looking at it in the long run, like the continuous enjoyment and replayability with the game. Like we'll be playing it for months and months and probably years on end.
Yeah, it's ideal for like upcoming festive season as well. Like Thanksgiving, like obviously gone now, but Christmas, New Year's, people getting together with family. And we said when Party Pack 8 was announced, like I've played this with my parents and people in my family who are not gamers, but very, very quickly, you've got a mobile phone. Jump on, enter the code, and you get it very, very quickly. The game does a good job at explaining the basics of playing the game, and before you know it, everyone's having a laugh and it's a good time. And I think you're right there. It's more longevity. It's an investment, is this game. Yeah. Every party, every social situation. And I guess credit where credit's due. On my PlayStation 4, I have Party Pack 4 and 5, maybe. I don't uninstall them because I know I'll need them at some point, maybe months from now, but it'll always sit there in my dock because you don't know when you're going to have people to entertain, I guess, as a host. Yeah. So they'll always stay there. And the great thing with Stadia, exactly. And the great thing with Stadia is you don't need to even uninstall them. They'll just be sat there indefinitely. But
there you go.
There is 7 on the horizon. It actually drops this week. So if you're listening to this on Monday, it drops this Tuesday, I think. That's right, if I got the dates right. 7th?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's Tuesday. So don't have to wait that long at all. Also... Well, you won't have to wait long for this next story at all because it's already out. Blaze and the Monster Machines Axle City Racers released on Stadia this week as a surprise little stealth drop. Of course, one of the fun titles from Outright Games. I believe it's Outright. Yep, Outright Games. Of course, just absolutely going to town on Stadia this back end of the year. There's nothing, you can't stop them. Every game they're publishing on the platform. Not one for me and Richie. I don't know about you, John. You've got 2 kids, so this is probably a different conversation.
Well, yeah, but my kids are older now. So my daughter's 23 and my son is 17, getting ready to turn 18.
Not then.
No. But what I like about Outright Games is like they create these family friendly oriented games. I actually did have a chance to play Blaze back in September. Outright Games had a virtual media event. We got to look at all the games coming this holiday, and I played Blaze, and I was able to talk to the developer. And so this is geared towards the 3 to 7 year old range, which is the target audience for this animated series, and how they worked together with the studios and things like that, and the simplicity and how easy it is to pick up to play. A parent can sit with their kid and play along and help with it. So although this might not be like a game that's meant for me, I really do like the backstory and to see how Outright Games takes these seriously, as they should, and they know their target audience, like right on, like all their games, they know it's this age range, and like if you look and you see the people playing it in those age ranges that they're meant for, like they're right on, like they're happy, like the Peppa Pigs and the Paw Patrols and things like that. Yeah, exactly. Like, the DreamWorks Dragon. Like, I was playing that and streaming it, and I was thinking, okay, this is going to be pretty easy. I'm like, oh, this is kind of, it gives a fair challenge. It's never overly difficult, but it gives you, like, don't judge a book by the cover. Like, completely. That really goes to say, and it's great. And again, I love to see, I know there's some people you see that comment, oh, here's another game I'm not going to play. Well, you know what? You might not play it. Right, exactly. It's not for you. It is meant for these younger kids. So, you have, your younger kids or maybe even brother, sister, niece, nephew, whatever, they come over, they want to play something, you throw this on, and pretty much you can put it on and they're not going to have too much difficulty. It guides them through it, and they'll be sitting there with a big smile on their face and giggling away and having fun.
Yeah, this is one where I can see kids having a great time with just like on the iPad or something like that. Using touch screen controls.
Yeah, games are for anyone. I think with this one, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first kart racer we've essentially got on Stadia as well. So for all it may be aimed at a younger audience, I'm dying for a kart racer on this platform. I'm holding out for Crash Team Racing, but Activision have got their own problems to deal with right now, and I can't see us necessarily seeing a port anytime soon, especially because the studios that made Crash Team Racing have been folded into Call of Duty work right now. So we'll see.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
always fun. Like, hey, a studio comes out some awesome games. Oh, let's just make Call of Duty instead.
That's what they're all about.
Don't do that, Activision. Bad Activision.
Bad Activision. Spray them with the watering can.
Yeah.
But in terms
that's
of
the least of Activision's problems.
Exactly. But in terms of it's 4-player split screen mode. I believe it's based on like a popular cartoon series. Again, no children here. But if this came to Pro, I would claim it. And you know what? I'd probably have a fun time playing it as well because it is a kart racer. It doesn't need to do much more to be fun.
Watching the trailer, the gameplay looks a bit slow. I don't know if you experienced that, John, when you've played it, because I actually watched the trailer again at double speed, and it seemed better.
Well, yeah, but you know, like I said, they don't want to make it too fast for the younger kids. But Outright Games does have a Fast and the Furious game that is coming out. And that's going to be more up our alley, because playing that, it gives you those Mario Kart vibes to it. And it's based off of, I think it's like a Netflix animated series or something. I don't remember. But that Fast and the Furious that is coming, it was delayed a little bit on PlayStation 5, Series X, and Stadia. So hopefully we see that in the first couple of months of 2022. But that's something to look forward to.
Yeah, kart races are always fun, and they don't need to put too much work into being fun. But it's great to see that Outright is still supporting the platform. And like you said, John, they know their audience, and it's fantastic. And every games are for everyone. A great story I have from this week, actually, I was speaking to my boss, and he's got two young sons, and he said he came down on a Saturday morning, and usually they play Fortnite, and he caught them playing the Switch, and they were playing none other than Excite Bike. Just two of them sat there cross-legged in front of the TV playing the Nintendo NES Excite Bike from like 1988 or something.
Yeah.
And he asked them, like, what are you doing? And the response was, we just wanted to play a multiplayer game. Like, kids don't know. They don't know it's old. They just saw a game in the dock and wanted to play it, and it was crazy bike fun action, just like all these Outright games would be. There's mass appeal, and you can't put them into a bracket just based on what they look like, what they play like, because they'll find someone. Every game's out there for someone.
Yes. Yeah.
But speaking of games that are maybe for more than just one or two people, next up on our story for the week, rumours of speculation is awry because BioShock 4, I guess, as we would call it, unofficially, is starting to get some leaks and reports coming out. So the next entry in the BioShock franchise is reportedly going to be called BioShock Isolation. We know a newly developed studio team called Cloud Chamber are working on it. That was announced, I think, probably a year ago or so now. But the rumours are starting to speculate. My guess is probably the Game Awards. We might see some kind of tease. It seems very fitting that the rumours start appearing as Jeff Keighley's building his stage and getting his teaser trailer ready to drop this week.
Yeah, it seems. I'd be surprised if this isn't at the Game Awards, to be honest. Like,
it'll be a good.
It feels the right time as well for it, for like a proper trailer to drop.
It kind of does. So of course, anyone who's familiar with the BioShock games, you've got the first two take place in Rapture in the 1960s, underwater. Incredibly detailed world. I've got so much love for BioShock. I only played them a few years ago, actually, and the collection edition that came out. And then Infinite goes off into the sky, I guess, in a floating city of is it Columbus or Columbia? I can't quite remember. Columbia?
I think it's Columbia.
Yeah,
I think so.
But I'm just dying for another BioShock game. I think since episode 1 of this podcast, Richie, I've said I would love the collection to be ported over, with Stadia having that relationship with 2K as well. So I'm still holding out. I would actually think getting the trilogy out in time before whatever this iteration looks like. But yes, the one Colin Moriarty over on his podcast revealed some details this week. He does the Sacred Symbols PlayStation podcast, and he's got a few people out there who are reliable sources, and the guys over at Eurogamer have collaborated some of those sources. So usually you don't get fire without smoke, or smoke without fire, I guess is the correct way of saying that. It seems to be, revealed to be BioShock Isolation. There was a logo that dropped on Reddit, I think, which looked kind of in line with it. It's supposed to be apparently going to unfold in a fictional Antarctic city sometime during the 1960s, which lines up with Rapture and the original two titles. And Antarctica, very interesting point to pick at. We don't really know much more other than the story, of course, is I'd imagine going to go with that eerie tone to it as well. What's your history with the BioShock games, John?
Yeah, the BioShock games, like as you mentioned, they're some of my favorite too. They always do a great job at the telling a story, the voice acting, the gameplay elements as well. It's just these games, I would love to see them come over to Stadia. And the Game Awards really, like this seems like the perfect chance to at least give us a little bit of a tease on BioShock 4. As you mentioned, like there's so much talk and chatter going around that it would be a little bit disappointing if we don't see something at the Game Awards at this point. But these BioShock games, 2K has done a great job, and hopefully these are something that we can maybe see. We got the Mafia 3 Definitive Edition just here in a couple of months ago, so it would be great to see the first 3 BioShock games show up.
We got a third of the Mafia collection. That's a sore spot for me. But the city in this new game is apparently going to be called Borealis, which I think is it's such a cool name as well for a city that's going to be under the stars on a snowy landscape, and it will link into the previous entries as well. Where do we think we might sit on a next gen part of the trilogy? So maybe while we wait for number 4 to come out, PS5, Xbox Series X, they kind of. It's been a few years. Probably not, but I feel like from a marketing standpoint,
to help hype it up. I think so.
Like 2022.
I think, to be honest, if you played any of the BioShock games now on your PS5 or Xbox Series X, you're probably in for a good time without any upgrades. But if they could maybe throw in things like ray tracing, stuff like that, could give it a new lick of paint without really going overboard. Yeah.
It's one of those kind of like, you don't want to flog a dead horse, but then at the same time, we know what we're getting. We know CD Projekt are working on The Witcher 3 for next gen.
Yeah.
Like, it must be, 2013 was Witcher 3, right? So you're talking coming up a decade since you actually put the game out, and yet everyone will buy it still. That's the thing. It's like Skyrim, 10th anniversary collection. Yeah. So I almost feel like, 2022 hit us with the BioShock trilogy next gen with some added features or whatever, and then 2023 get you hyped for the next one. But that's just me thinking. And I always think when we get a next gen port, that bodes well for cloud ports, which is I think where this thought process really comes from. Thinking if we get The Witcher 3 next gen next year, I would so hope that there's a conversation being had about porting it to Stadia. Well, you do next gen anyway, port it to the cloud.
Yeah.
Same goes for like any BioShock iterations as well. Well, if you're working on an entire remaster anyway, while you're at it, why not? And I'd like to think Google subsidised some of that funding cost like they did for the Resident Evil games, but we don't know. It's all hearsay, of course, but I'm excited for the game to get another iteration. I love the fact that we might delve back into the world of BioShock because all 3 games are great in their own right as well.
Yes.
Have you played them yet, Richie?
I haven't. If they come to Stadia, that would probably be the time I jump in, especially if it's the next gen port.
Yeah.
I have them on PS4, PS5. I just didn't get round to playing them at the time when I think they came on PS Plus at some point.
Yeah, I think I've got them
on this PlayStation on like a sale where I just went, you know what, I've heard great things, I'll have them. But
I will guide you through a BioShock playthrough on the channel. I'm totally down for sitting and just watching you play through those amazing stories. But that's not all the amazing stories we have so far this week, because next up we've got Handy Games over on social media. They were teasing some Stadia news all week long, weren't they, John? They were teasing us, replying to people and saying, "You think that's all? Mwahaha, evil laugh." all tweets like that, just to be funny. And then in a weird way, it kind of backfired on them a little bit, because they announced via trailer that their new indie game Scarf is being released on December 23rd, and then quickly had to backtrack on Twitter and say, actually, attention, we made a mistake. Scarf is not going to be releasing on Stadia on December 23rd. The release date only applies to PC platforms. We apologise for this, but we can promise some awesome Stadia news on Monday. So now they're in this like weird place where it's kind of like, right, so Scarf I hadn't heard nothing about until I started looking to pull together some show notes for this episode, and I saw it on their website and I thought, oh, that looks like a cool little artistic indie game. Didn't think anything of it with Stadia, and then lo and behold, you've got the Nerf report reporting on it and them apologising about it. I think it is coming to Stadia. I just don't think they're allowed to officially tell us now. Yeah. But now I'm thinking, what's happening on Monday?
I wonder if there's two different games and they've got the wires crossed, where they've got an announcement planned for Stadia Monday, and also there was a Scarf announcement.
John knows something.
I think so, because here's how it unwound for me. Friday morning, I woke up about 7:30, and I always check my email. And sure enough, about 6 a.m., I got a press email from Handy Games that Scarf was coming. It showed the graphic there, the Stadia logo. It said coming December 23rd, the trailer, everything, right? So I'm like, I went onto Discord. I'm like, oh, I know what the next Handy Games is going to be. Has anybody been talking about it? And they're like, no. And I'm like, oh, well, look, here's a press release. So I tweeted it out with the trailer, some screenshots and everything. And then the developers were doing a live play at 8 a.m. my time.
Yeah,
so
I saw that.
I tweeted that out. People got on. They're like, oh, we can't wait to play on Stadia. And the developers were like, I don't think it's coming to Stadia. We're like, what? And sure enough, had a little chit chat with him. We're like, where did you hear this information? I'm like, well, here's the press release and here's the press site. And they're like, oh, hold on. Lo and behold, a half hour to an hour later, the press site gets updated. The Stadia logo gets removed. The trailer gets taken down. And then they put out, they respond that we made, basically the tweet that you read earlier, like, we made a mistake, that it's not, that release date is for PC. So they're not saying it's not coming to Stadia. And to me, on like everything based upon all my experience and gaming and things like that, it's like they would have had to go to all that trouble to create those graphics and add the Stadia logo. More than one person would have had to okay that, right? Yeah. Like, it's not just one person slipped up. It would have had to went through several people, maybe even 10, 20 people to get the okay, to get that made, to get it, the copy written and approved and spell checked and all this stuff. So my personal take on it is they released the info too early. But like you said, like, what a coincidence where Handy Games is teasing earlier in the week that's not the only game. And we're thinking, oh, well, one hand clapping, the final is coming out on I think it's December 14th. They're like, no, it's not that. It's something else. And then when Scarf's announced, and then seeing the developers play it in the game in action, where you can use your Scarf in different, like, to fly, hop across things, and to use it as a weapon and things like that. It's like, this looks awesome. Yes, I can't wait. An awesome Christmas present. December 23rd, I'm ready to play it. And then they're like, no, I don't think it's coming. So I think it is coming to Stadia. Now, whether we're going to get it December before PC or we're going to get it in 2022, but hopefully they clarify that on Monday, today, later today, right? Like, hopefully that's clarified and we find out what's going on, because it looks like a very beautiful action platforming game, and would be awesome. I would love to play that on Stadia.
I get big Journey vibes from it. Yeah. Especially with the Scarf.
Somewhere between Journey and Unraveled.
Yeah, that's a good comparison to mix in. Now, with the way the press release and everything works and the December 23rd date, I'm getting like kind of flashbacks to when we got Cthulhu Saves Christmas, like randomly dropped like just the week before Christmas last year. And I'm thinking, like, is this going to be like a surprise pro game for Christmas week potentially?
That would be. I was thinking that too. Like, that would be great. But like I said, there's no way that this went through and got the approval and the email sent out and everything, and without something happening. Like, it has to be coming for sure. If it doesn't, this is like a really huge mistake. But I think it is. I think it is coming. It's just they kind of just let it out too early there.
The thing is, in the press release, someone's had to make them graphics, and someone's put that Stadia logo there.
Yeah.
So,
like how that doesn't just accidentally happen, right? Like somebody is told, okay, we're gonna put the GOG, put Epic, put Steam, put Stadia, and right. Like in order, like you could maybe see if by accident they put Xbox, or by accident they put PlayStation or Nintendo, right? Like far-fetched, but you could see that. But for them to accidentally put Stadia there, and then like someone approves this and they generate the email and they send it all out and it's in things like that, it's like somebody made a mistake and it was too early. But hopefully we get it clarified here shortly.
Yeah, I don't think we'll have to wait too long by the scene.
No.
But I'd be thrilled. It seems like the exact type of game we're used to seeing on Stadia as well. It's one of those smaller indie titles, very great, very beautiful art style and choice.
Yes.
With like like a lot of the pro games we've looked at, it fits in the kind of the same realm of those as well. Like Wavetale more recently. Yeah, beautiful. Love to see it. And hopefully, as I said, at the time this podcast goes live on Monday, you'll probably find out a few hours after listening to this what the actual news is. So insert whatever your thoughts and takes are. Head over to our Twitter accounts and see the news there. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of chitter-chatter going on in the social space regarding it. Speaking of chitter-chatter in the social space, CD Projekt Red made a post this week regarding what they're working on for their updates. The next-gen versions of Cyberpunk for PlayStation 5 and Series X, of course, have been delayed until 2022. But CD Projekt have also given us an update on post-launch content as well, coming alongside the next-gen versions. Cyberpunk 2077, of course, much in trouble for the way their product launched on other platforms. We didn't have a problem on Google Stadia. To this day, it's still one of the best places to play it.
There was bugs and stuff, but it wasn't unplayable.
It wasn't unplayable by any stretch.
Yeah,
and I think they're very well aware that the next-gen versions need to land the plane perfectly on this front. They can't have another debacle all over again. But yes, they've released... they haven't released an update since September. So that, in my mind, that tells me they're dutifully working away on like another big, massive patch to quash loads of new stuff. They gave us a few cosmetics back in the update, but nothing extensive. They've always said there is going to be free DLC down the line, story content and stuff. Whether that's still in the pipeline, we're not too sure. But they have also stressed that they're working on other projects right now, one of which is still being the Witcher 3 next-gen version. That's going to come with ray tracing and fast loading times and hopefully cloud variations. I would love to see the back end of next year, like August time, we get Witcher 3 on Stadia.
Yeah.
And again, I've got to imagine how well it launched Cyberpunk on the platform.
Yeah.
Like that conversation has to have happened, right, gents? It has to have happened.
I'm just hoping that they are taking the time they need to get it right, because we can pretty much say definitively at this point that Cyberpunk was launched about roughly a year earlier than it should have been. A year later, they still haven't got the next gen versions out. There's still problems with like other versions. Yeah, so it came out about a year early.
Yeah, and so they're not in the
do
running.
That in The Witcher. Yeah,
and they're not in the running for Game of the Year or anything, which I think I'm to no surprise. But despite 2077's very public struggle, CD Projekt have still actually reported a 40% increase in quarterly revenue, which it just goes to show you it doesn't really matter in the games industry. We all kick up a fuss when stuff doesn't work, but we buy it, we play it anyway.
Well, the thing is, though, if The Witcher 3 comes out and the next gen part of The Witcher 3 comes out and it's in a similar sort of state as Cyberpunk, your reputation is now just destroyed. Your reputation
I think
questionable at the moment because of Cyberpunk. And then if you destroy your reputation with Witcher 3, then you're going to start falling. Your revenue's going to start falling off a cliff very quickly.
Yeah, they only have two IP.
You're getting by this time, but that will only last so long.
Yeah, I think they know, like, at this point that they've got to hit it out of the ballpark. Yeah. And with Witcher 3 being on, like, even Nintendo Switch, I would hopefully... I mean, Google knows, like, they're listening. They're gamers just like you and I. Like, they would love to have this on the platform, too. So I'm sure there have been at least some reaching out and some talks to it. Whether that will materialize, it's yet to be seen, but... It'd be great. Another great addition.
I'm optimistic
Stadia.
I'm optimistic for a next gen version, because you have to think that when Google and CG Projekt were talking about Cyberpunk, Witcher came up. The Witcher would have came up in that conversation at some
for
point.
sure.
And if there's a next gen version there, I think Google are going, you know what, we don't need the current gen version, we'll wait for this one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'd hope so.
That seems like a sensible decision.
Indeed.
Yeah, seems logical. Seems logical to me for sure.
And yeah, they have confirmed they're working on a number of new projects as well. And my guess is that, again, with the size of the studio, and they're always expanding, in the way Cyberpunk has gone, they probably want to get a third wheel in motion just in case Cyberpunk ends up being like a flat dead end where no one would be clamoring for a sequel. So then, again, we all know Witcher 4 is an inevitability. It's just a matter of when, I think, not if. But it's not anytime soon. So as a business, you need something in the works. Now, I think they were banking on Cyberpunk, and that might not be the long-term kind of cash cow that they maybe were hoping for. Even though, like I said, they've still got 5% increased quarterly revenue, so they're not exactly suffering over there. But you're right, Richie. Their public image is taking a hit, just like it has with Rockstar recently, with due the remaster. But at the same time, CD Projekt only really has the two IP. Rockstar's got a whole catalogue of other things to lean on.
CD, they don't have the kind of legacy of something like a Ubisoft or an EA where they can take these hits from time to time and then just bounce back. If they take too many hits in a row, then what people go, well, the last game you made that was decent was Witcher 3, and that was over a decade ago. Blah, blah, blah. Like,
well, you see that with BioWare at the moment.
Yeah,
it's there the same. Where arguably, like Mass Effect 3 or Dragon Age was their last good game in the last decade. So how long does that go on for? Like Anthem bombed. God knows what.
I'm a big Dragon Age fan. I didn't really like 3. 2 was objectively rushed. So the last kind of, for me, is either the Mass Effect original, like Mass Effect 3, or Dragon Age Origins.
Yeah,
that's a long time.
Yeah, and we've seen publishers like EA and stuff like close studios that have arguably been more successful. So it's you never know in the games industry. Like like there's so much money and cost goes into development. It can happen. I think even like 2 weeks ago, Richie, we discussed the Mafia studio, Hangar 13. Rockstar just wrote off 50 million worth of development of a game because they couldn't see an end project for it. So it's very cutthroat, and we know that. And it's unfortunate that the end product is criticised for 5 years worth of work, but that's the industry.
It's very simple. Don't release a game till it's ready.
Well,
No matter what the finance team say, if a game's not ready, it doesn't go. For me, that should be it. You have a quality control department, which they get the final say, not the marketing team, not the finance team, the quality control team. And if it hasn't hit all the boxes, it doesn't go.
Yeah, and I think
well, you remember, like Nintendo, quality over quantity, right? That
seal
Nintendo seal of quality.
It's only doing the same thing now.
And I think with Cyberpunk. Yeah, with Cyberpunk, it was in development so long, and people were so excited for it. And I think, they just said, well, let's put it out there and we'll pick up the pieces after that. Lucky, for us here, PC and on Stadia, it was pretty good. Again, there was some bugs here and there, but for the most part, I enjoyed the experience playing it on Stadia. And it was just a shame to see that other ports of the game weren't quite nearly as good, but
I think
they kind of paid for it.
I think the only bug I really experienced was occasionally my gun would just start firing and not stop.
Yeah.
But a quick save, quick load would fix that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I managed to get through with that. I used to be a PC gamer, so I'm used to random crazy stuff occasionally caring.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
It's video games. It's video games. It happens. But
exactly,
I think we're definitely right saying I think the world or the industry has learnt a lot in the last 2 years about that. And I think I think Rockstar. I think this remastered debacle, I think, is kind of made them sit back and realise. And I think even with like the downvotes on YouTube, I think it was, and people are getting a bit thin on the front with like, when is Grand Theft Auto 6 going to come? Like, it's been a long time now. And then CD Projekt with Cyberpunk, and I think Ubisoft with like Hyperscape and stuff. There's developers are starting to realise that you can't just put something out if it's not a quality product, and you've got to be a bit more timely, and you can't rush stuff. So I think there's been a big few tentpole examples that will make big business think, and I think you're right, Richie. It needs to come down to quality over just hitting a date necessarily with that seal of approval. But as we move on, new news of new games that are hopefully ready for release. Akapara Games teasing a new Darkside Detective case as well over on Twitter. They tweet out McQueen and Dooley are back. Find out very more information soon about the Darkside Detective case. Of course, Stadia, we've got both entries. We've got the second and third, first and second entry, both on Pro, right? We've had them both on Pro.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I can't remember now. I've played both.
I think like the first one was supposed to launch on Pro and it didn't. There was some, people were talking over it.
Yeah, it was like in a blog and then it disappeared from the blog or something. Similar to Little Nightmares this past week, because they just don't acknowledge that it was ever on there, which I'm sure there's some consumer rights there that belong, but we're not lawyers, and I claimed it back last year, so I'm not that bothered by it, but either either. And they have clarified from the Darkside Detective's Twitter account as well. Somebody, Andrew Schaefer, asked on Twitter, possibly coming to Stadia, and the response was, the new case will be coming to Stadia. So there's your confirmation right there, folks. Now, they say new case. I'm curious, is this DLC for Fumble in the Dark, the sequel, or is this a whole new entry?
I'm taking this as a new entry. I think they just call the games cases.
Because you're a detective, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that seems possible. Like these are great games. Like these point and click adventures, and the Dooley is so funny. The dialogue and the banter back and forth. Like, again, don't judge a book by this cover. Some people might see it and be like, "Oh, that, looks like a retro 8-bit game," but these are every bit as enjoyable. Well worth the money if you haven't claimed them on Pro. So fun. Yeah,
and you're totally right there. I played the first iteration. I played it with my wife as just kind of... and you can imagine, sit there, open up the game, and she sees the graphics, and it's just kind of like, what are we playing? And it's like... Because, again, her mind immediately goes back to, like, Sega Mega Drive, and she's not a big fan of 16-bit music. I have such an affinity for it. She hates it. It just sounds like beeps and boops and not music in any way, shape, or form. Whereas I could fall asleep listening to Mega Drive soundtracks. So boot up on the TV, and what we decided to do is we essentially give each other the scripted part. So I would do a voice for so many characters, she would do a voice for so many characters, and we just had a good time on the couch back and forth. And you're totally right, John. The script, the story writing, the comedy in these games is a level unto itself. It's so funny. We found ourselves just laughing at the remarks, the witty banter back and forward, the little Easter eggs for like pop culture that are scattered throughout this, like Ghostbusters references and stuff. It's great, and again, it's very much a point and click adventure. Much more easy to play on the PC, I would say, with the mouse and keyboard, as a point and click adventure traditionally would. But it works just as well on the controller too. And I'm thrilled that we're getting another entry and coming to Stadia. So.
It sounds like a game I could do with the direct touch treatment.
Yes, very much so.
That would be great. Yeah, that's great. And I like the puzzles in the games too. Like, like sitting there playing with, you mentioned like your wife as well, like trying to figure out, because I can remember there were times where like, what do I do next? And I was actually streaming it, and people in the chat were like, let's try this, let's try that. And it's great to be able to bounce those ideas off of others and things like that. It's just overall, like, I really enjoyed both games. Really, really good.
Exactly the same. So I'm looking forward to seeing what adventures Officer Dooley and McQueen get up to in the future too. Not too long to wait, hopefully. If they're teasing it, hopefully something in the coming weeks. Other things in the news, the out of nowhere, the Zordik group, never heard of them before, have acquired the global games publisher Maximum Games, which umbrellas Modus games. So you guys might be familiar with Modus games over on the platform. Those are the people who've put out titles like Chris Tales, Ari and the Secret of Seasons, Trine 4, and the upcoming Animal Royale, which I'm still waiting for, because they've just announced, I think, on Twitter, their second season. And I'm thinking, like, why are you up to your second season if the game's not out yet on Stadia? So I don't know if they forgot to push it live or something, but either way, they've been acquired. They're part of now the Zordik group, which sounds like an evil corporation if you ask me. But Out of all this, I would just like to think that this new cash injection from a massive Swedish conglomerate is going to give them the funds they need to push this game onto Stadia, of course.
Yep.
Anything to add to this story, gentlemen, or anything to add to Animal Royale, I guess?
Just that Zordik seemed to be intent on becoming like a top quality AA publisher, which I think is good. So you'll get more games like Chris Tales, which is a game I was still very much on my radar. Ari didn't land for me. The camera was kind of weird, and it's just like that camera is just, you need to do something about that before this game's playable. Personally, Trine's well received, but it's
certainly an interesting acquisition.
Yeah, the Super Animal Royale, they keep, the Twitter account keeps saying news coming soon. Like, we know it was rated for Stadia back in August, the end of August. So everyone thought, oh, it's going to be September. Didn't show up in September. October, no. November, December 1st, no. So, and again, it's a free-to-play game, so hopefully we see it here before the end of the year. I'm going to guess it'll be like a stealth drop. Like, we won't know about it. Then all of a sudden, maybe it'll be a Christmas present, maybe January. Who knows? I guess we'll find out soon, hopefully.
Yeah, knowing the way when we record the show it goes, it'll be this week. We'll get the show, we'll bemoan about it for 5 straight minutes, and then it'll be out on Wednesday or Tuesday or Thursday.
Yeah.
Maximum Games, who they've acquired, interestingly enough, the franchises they've recently worked with as well is Kenna Bridge of Spirits, of course, up for loads of Game Awards, exclusive to PlayStation, Among Us, and Five Nights at Freddy's. So I think between Kenna and Among Us, that's some big franchises that they've kind of got within their wheelhouse with partnerships as well now. So you're right, Richie. It reminds me of the Embracer Group. Whenever I see big acquisitions like this, I think of Embracer. I think of Tencent, because they just seem to like have little. Like,
Tencent just tend to buy bits of everyone though.
Gradually, but we're big fans of AA titles, or what you would class as a AA title. There's always a market for it, and I think we've said many times on the show, Richie, Stadia Pro has introduced us to more AA titles that I would never have considered playing. But each and every one of them I've had a laugh with every single time. I wouldn't have probably bought them outright myself. They're never on my radar. But when I jump in and play them, I'm like, oh, this is a really fun game. This, so it's doing its job. It's doing its job. One of which was actually Dead by Daylight, which brings us on to our next story for the week. Dead by Daylight keeps just putting out content. Like, this game, I feel like every time you look around, there's a new character introduced, there's a new tie-in with like a horror franchise going on, and the next chapter of Dead by Daylight brings Portrait of a Murder, which is already launched on the platform. The DLC is now there, and it's added a new original killer and survivor, as well as a brand new map set in an abandoned Chilean graveyard. So in addition to that, there's new DLC coming alongside it. To quote from the Dead by Daylight blog, it says, birds have borne a very powerful sense of fear and fascination throughout the history of horror. So the artist, which is the new character in there, for us is a love letter to the genre. Portrait of a Murder very efficiently spares in survivors' minds the distress of being prey to a flock of crows that could peck their flesh away in any instance. And the character seems like some creepy crow lady. That's the best way I can describe her character. She's just made up of kind of... I've got actually Resident Evil vibes from the way her mannerisms are, but yeah, she's kind of half crow, half lady, wearing like the Game of Thrones crow shawl over there, like the black cloak kind of outfit. Yeah. I know Dom from Stadia Source is like a massive fan of Dead by Daylight, so I'm sure he'll be all over us this week as well. And just more content. I love games getting more content, especially ones that have the longevity that Dead by Daylight seems to have. I'm sure Tom will buy this, Richie. He's got all the DLC, all the character packs, so he'll be straight on this as well. Where do you sit with Dead by Daylight, John? You're a horror fan?
Yeah, but I mean, I've played Dead by Daylight. I casually play it, not like a lot there, but it's great to see. There's like you mentioned, there's like a ton of DLC for the game, so them to keep supporting this game ongoing, it's great. And I know there's like dedicated Discord servers just for Dead by Daylight itself. Is like it's a really big game, multiplayer fun, and again, great to see that they keep supporting it and releasing new content on a constant basis. So great to see.
It's one of those titles, I think, Richie, we'll just go back to every Halloween.
Yeah,
just because, like, let's see what's happening now. Let's try and remember how to play this game. Let's bemoan how long it takes to fix the generators, get killed, but inevitably have a good time. That's what it's all about. Speaking of having a good time as well, one of our final stories for the week, Sky Climbers, one of the Kickstarter campaign games that the amazing Stadia community got behind, rallied behind, got it ported over. We had the release trailer a couple of months back. They've now put out that there will be an alpha version of the game running a bit closer to closer to release, and they repoint us in the direction of the dev post, which I think the dev post sometimes allures us. I don't always check it because I'm not a dev, and it's until someone tweets about it I go, they've put out some news stories. There will be a new channel for this type of thing, and in the dev blog post it essentially says that the distribution of content for playtests and betas, managing downloads, updates, and ensuring that players have the correct build. They can put their own storefront on it, which I think is quite a nice touch from Stadia. So essentially, if you want to like pimp out your game for the masses, you can do it without it having to be on Stadia. To get all your number player base, you can generate how many users can be on it. I think, Richie, we covered it a few episodes back around. You can take away rights and rules and let people do stuff with different levels of security. And from a developer standpoint, it's terrific. So it's nice to see that Sky Climbers is going to have an alpha. But more importantly, it looks like we're going to be able to play it in some capacity, whether that's direct through Stadia or in some kind of AT&T separate beta test storefront link. Still waiting on Arkham Knight.
I mean, I think this is crowdfunded. So I imagine that one of the crowdfunding options is that to give access to the alphas and the betas. So, and if Stadia is making it easier for developers to run beta tests on their service, that's great. It means that developers who develop directly for Stadia can put the game on there, send out the invite links to those who want to, get them in, get people playing, see how it performs before it goes public properly.
Yeah. And I think
it's all good stuff.
Yeah, I think the best like snippet of that is the fact that they're allowed to do it with their own storefronts. Like whether they opt to do it through Stadia, I think from a marketing standpoint, it might be a smarter move to just say, here's a link. If you want to play our alpha test, here's a link, play it, and it's got no affiliation to the platform whatsoever. I think that would actually get it in more people's hands, which I know it's doing a little bit of a disservice to Stadia, but having to log in and play it through that, whereas you could just set up your own storefront and say, here's our alpha test, have a go, let's gather some feedback without any connotations of cloud gaming and stuff attached. I think that could be a good thing. So we shall see.
Yeah, and it actually will demo, like, for those that have that hesitation for cloud gaming, and then they'll realize, like, wait a second, we're using this. Like, this is a viable platform. Look at all the benefits that we're getting. So although, like you said, it doesn't have that association with Stadia in some aspect, it's actually, positive as well, because then it could just bring people to the platform or games to the platform that developers might not have thought originally to, I don't want to bring it to Stadia, but they've done all this testing and things like that. And so it's great. Like, I know I saw the developer said, like, I think the alpha for PC is supposed to be March 2022. And then somebody asked about, is it coming to Stadia? I believe it was like Lord Vivek as mentioned or replied to a tweet saying PC. And they're like, yes, but they're going to have it on Stadia as well based upon, the channels and things like that. So it's very interesting to see. Hopefully it's not too far after the PC alpha starts that we are able to...
They might just be waiting for confirmation from Google about how all the channel stuff's going to work. And
I bet you.
Sky Climbers might be one of the first to use that service. So there might be just a case of we don't want to confirm that the beta will run at the same time until we know for sure.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And
the alpha, sorry.
I think I will keep saying alpha beta for some reason. Like I'm reading the alphabet off. But completely. I think it's a good move. And this is kind of what, when we saw the AT&T deal with Arkham Knight, I was hoping that people would play it on the link and almost be like, oh, the game runs great. Yeah, it's you just click the link and you play the game with the tech you've already got. And then almost like that big reveal of like, haha, it's running on Stadia. You journalists out there have done what X, Y, Z towards this platform for years, and you've just give Arkham Knight on AT&T whatever review you've given, and then like actually it's almost like that. Stadia's hidden under one of the cups, and people just moving them around, going like, under this cup you got Luna, under this cup you got Stadia.
You into playing Stadia.
Yeah, exactly. It does work.
And now you can't complain about that latency. Like,
exactly, yeah. So I think it's an interesting one that they could do. Right, moving on, lads. From the final story of the week, we're going to go over to the land of lawsuits with It Takes Two. Predominantly, not that they're on Stadia, but I just think it's an interesting remark because of the Game Awards are coming up, and It Takes Two is up for a few awards. But It Takes Two, my arguably probably favourite multiplayer game of the year. They've got a class action lawsuit against them from Take-Two Interactive because the game is titled It Takes Two. And I just wanted to spend just to round out the show this week, talk about the humour, I guess, in this, that Take-Two just think that they can go around. Go on, Richie.
Take-Two are clearly being twatty.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very different thing. It's not even the same word. Yours is Take-Two, and theirs is It Takes Two. They're not the same.
But It Takes Two is like a common phrase
these two
as well.
things confused. Yeah.
Yeah, like it takes two to tango. Like it's the kind of it's a phrase that you hear.
So, you're being overly protective of your brand, and that just makes you look bad. So don't do it.
This isn't the first time that the US Patent Office especially says that they're trying anything that comes up with words like Rockstar, Social Club, Mafia, Civilization, and a list of other ones as well. Think Like a Rockstar was apparently abandoned for using that for books and promotions. There's there's a clothing brand called Max Fane, which has been had to take down. And it's just like
things like the word mafia is like you can't. That was in common use before you existed, so no.
Right.
You chose to name that your branding after that a common use word for like that sort of that style of gangster. You kind of did that to yourself.
Yeah. Trademarks are a funny thing anyway, because I get they want to protect their brand, but at the same time, you can't. Words are words. You can't prevent people from using words. I know, ironically, we had not an issue, but our channel was called Sounds of Stadia initially because we wanted to let people know that we were talking about Stadia. So that if we called it whatever it would have been, we wouldn't have had that early doors traction. And we're fortunate enough we've got to that point now where people see us with Stadia content creators regardless of the name. But if we'd started off without that, I don't think we'd have got the traction early doors that we would have wanted, because people search for Stadia and it's not in the name, and then it's like, oh, what are these guys about? But there's one on here which is Rockstar axe throwing in Florida, not allowed. Just because you've got Rockstar, people have said Rockstars for well before Rockstar. It's like I don't associate with Rockstar. I don't even when someone says Rockstar, I think of music straight away rather than video games.
Have they tried to sue any actual rock stars?
Nickelback coming for you, Nickelback. It's a funny one. I just wanted to end the show on this one this week because it's it's just taking it too seriously. But it's just, I think it's just ironic that they're going after another games company. I think that's why it probably is highlighted a little bit more. But It Takes Two and Take-Two Interactive. I think humanity is smart enough that they can distinguish the difference.
The thing is, when you do stuff like this, other companies look at you and go, I don't want to work with you. I wouldn't want to work with someone who's just going to sue people on the drop of a hat for trivial stuff.
Yeah, nitpicking and just being very trivial and...
It does do that, doesn't it? I can totally understand it if it was they'd used imagery or the same font or colour palette to get as close, but it's literally a multiplayer game about Play-Doh people who are trying to reconnect their relationship. What's that got anything to do with the phrase Take Two? Nothing. Yeah. So
only because it was successful did it catch their eye, right? If it didn't make any money or whatever, they wouldn't have cared, right? So
it's just great. it's just agreed to a lawsuit. That's all it is. It's not to protect the brand. They just want to try and get a cut of their profits.
Yeah. Hey, well, that's what it's all about money and profits. But as we wind down this show and we head over to record this week's episode of SideQuest, of course, it's all about the Game Awards this week, folks. Jeff Keighley is rounding up all the best people from the industry at large, and we're going to celebrate at the end of the year Game of the Year, Performance of the Year, Music of the Year, all of that, and we'll be covering it right here on the Helix Cloud Games channel this very Thursday/Friday, because time's funny, and the way that it kicks off is it's going to be a late one. UK listeners out there, European listeners out there, it goes live at 1 a.m. UK time, GMT. So we'll be going live to make things line up better. We'll go live on the Thursday night, Thursday the 9th, probably about 1:45, which sounds crazy saying out loud as it is. And we'll just probably play some games, Richie, and chat about the Game Awards as we come up to the show. And then when the show starts, we'll watch along, of course, and react to all of the trailers, announcements, hopefully some Stadia announcements, because you don't know who's going to be there. All we need to see is that logo at the end. I know that's well-wishing in its own right. Yeah. But we'll be there with you, so if you want to join us, fantastic. It might even be a great opportunity for our American and Canadian audiences to join us, because we know the time difference sometimes prohibits people joining us on our live shows. John, you're going to watch along as well over on your channel?
Yeah, I'm going to be watching along. Myself, Ninja Guy X, and maybe a few other people, depending if they drop in, and just excited to see any of the announcements and trailers, and fingers crossed that we get some games on Stadia as well.
Well, we are with the Game Awards, that is literally the last event of the year. So Phil Harrison is there in some capacity. We've said before, he's part of the panel, whatever that relates to. Bobby Kotick's also part of the panel. I saw that this week people were getting confused because on the Game Awards website it had him down as on the panel above Mr. Phil Harrison, and it said director, and loads of people on social media thought he was the director of the Game Awards. And then it turned into this whole thing. I was like, no, he's the director of his own company on the panel. But then people thought like the Game Awards were sort of associated with all the Activision Blizzard fiasco at the moment, and it was like, no, they're separate. But you just got to laugh at it sometimes. But we'll be there. We'll be watching along, live reacting. We'd love to see you guys in the chat if you do wish to stop by. But as I said, we're going to go away and record SideQuest. Our members here on the YouTube channel get it up to 6 days early. In fact, this week, Richie, it'll be going on free feeds early, so people can get it in time for the Game Awards.
It will be. We usually launch on the Friday. I think we're planning on launching on the Thursday. Maybe I might push it Wednesday evening if I'm being nice.
And if he's being generous, if he's feeling good. And myself, John, and Richie are going to go away and talk about all the gaming awards, all the announcements, all the nominations, what our takes are, what our probably nomination votes are for these particular categories. And I'm looking forward to doing all that. But thank you very much for tuning in this week for all your Stadia and gaming news roundup right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games, and out there on your podcast preference of choice. Thank you once again, Richie, for joining us this week, and also John from Four Scars Gaming as well, joining us all the way from Canada, very, very early in the morning as well. We do appreciate you getting up to jump onto this as well. It's been an absolute delight, John. Let the beautiful people out there know what you're up to and where they can find you.
Well, you can find me on Twitter, _gaming, on YouTube, Four Scars Gaming. My blog, fourscarsgaming.com. We've got a theme there, as you can see, going on.
Good branding.
And also on the Best Buy Canada blog, which is blog.bestbuy.ca. I'll be streaming this week. We know we got 9 to 5 is coming out, free-to-play games. So Ninja Guy and myself are going to be teaming up and just going to have fun, and excited to see the Game Awards here, and maybe new game announcements and awards handed out.
Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Thank you very much again, John.
Yep.
Richie,
thank you for having me on.
Where can people find you?
Here. Also on Twitter at RichieC89.
And I'm at CyberChris2077. And remember, folks, play whatever makes you the happiest. Mine has been Chris.
I've been Richie.
I'm John.
We've been Helix Cloud Games with special guest John. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great week. Take care. Goodbye.